Hi, everybody. Welcome to Laughing Place Movie Club as we talk about Summer of Soul, the delightful Pixar romp that tells the tale of Joe Gardner spending a weekend with his friend in Italy. And, is that wrong?
Yeah, I think you got it mixed up.
Oh, okay. But it's done by the drummer, Curly the drummer from Soul. Amir Questlove Thompson's directorial debut, Summer of Soul, the new film from Searchlight Pictures, chronicling. Okay, so this is where I'm unclear. Was it a weekend or like the whole summer?
It was the whole summer.
Okay. Throughout 1969, the same year as Woodstock, and I did not know this, which is hilarious to me, and I'm glad they talked about it. The moon landing, at the same time as the Harlem Cultural Festival. All footage that has not been seen in over 50 years. So I think it's really well done. How about you guys?
I thought it was great. I thought it was very interesting. Obviously before this, I had no idea that this was even a thing. And I remember seeing previews for this and being like, what is this? Because like in the preview, I think they mentioned like, oh, it was like Black Woodstock. And I was like, oh. But what
had either of you heard of it before? I've never heard of it either. Yeah.
Nope.
And I think that's kind of one of the points they bring up in the movie. Like Questlove and one of the main guys that he features are like, yeah, I have memories of this, but nobody ever talks about it. This footage has never been seen. And by the way, I thought the footage looked great and sounded great. To the point where there were parts like, how is that microphone picking up that tambourine or like those pips clap so well? Yeah. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was definitely a thing that I was like, the sound quality in this movie is like so good.
I immediately said, not immediately, probably about 30 minutes in, I was like, okay, where's the vinyl set? Like, release that Questlove. Yeah. Searchlight, partner up.
Did he give up on using the question mark in his name?
Yeah, I think so.
Based on the credits, which I'll talk about in a little bit, because I did see a name in there mentioned, and I was like, well, now this movie's gone from me. But
Fiona Apple?
Demi Lovato.
Oh.
So.
Really?
No, I don't hold that against the movie. There was no pretend science like stars and mooning colliding, and that's worse than, or that's easier to deal with than your boyfriend breaking up with you, but whatever.
Oh boy.
I have the same problem with Alan Jackson's Tall Trees. You can't buy all the tall trees and all the water in the sea because you're a fool for somebody. I'm sorry. Anyway, back to Summer of Soul.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. And I also would really like a soundtrack to come out because I'm like, hey, Woodstock has a soundtrack and the sound quality in this movie is really good. It would be really easy to just take the audio from this and slap it on.
Yeah, it really would. I had it all on the sound bar, the surround speakers and everything, and it worked really well. And I was expecting it to be like, AM radio in a can.
Yeah.
Even though it was only 1969, not 1942. Coming up next.
I mean, all of those bands, for the most part, had just like so many instruments up on stage, like full orchestras or like multiple percussionists and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, sounded awesome.
And I like too that it wasn't like a documentary. The extent of my historical musical festivals gone wrong. So Woodstock '99 and Firefest.
I have that,
but this was the Firefest one.
No,
is it just the boy saying we're not coming?
2-disc CD with
Limp Bizkit and
yep.
Wasn't Eminem there? I think maybe.
Probably.
I don't know if Eminem was. I don't think he was on the soundtrack, but like you got all sorts of random ones we forgot about, like Buck Cherry.
Who did that? Give me something to break.
That's
Limp Bizkit.
Oh, is it Limp Bizkit? Okay, because I
got the Red Hot Chili Peppers cover of Fire.
I distinctly remember anything about Woodstock '99 I've ever seen has that as like the underliner song. Thanks, MTV. But it made me remember how much I actually like that kind of music from Summer of Soul. Yeah. And I was texting you, Chris, as I watched it. I was just like, now I just want to watch this direct too.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it was very cool, and it was cool.
And then Kyle, you told me I just could do 2 hours of Gladys Knight and the Pips.
The Pips are awesome. Like their dance moves are like they're like really burning some calories. But no, I think what's interesting is I love 60s music, and I think of 60s as a genre, but then you watch something like this and you're like, oh no, there's like several different genres just on that stage. Let alone like throughout the entire decade that we all just kind of lump together because that's how radio stations work.
I'm gonna get this wrong. The part that I like too is when they talk about Sly and the Family Stone.
Yes,
I almost said Sly and the Stone Family, and that's not right. Both of you. And they show like they're like, and then here comes Sly and the Family Stone, and then they show the crowd like rush the stage, and I was like, oh, what?
And what's really interesting about Sly and the Family Stone being there is that Sly and the Family Stone was also at Woodstock.
Really?
Yes. So they were at Woodstock, and then I don't know the time period or the time frame for Woodstock versus this concert, but they were at Woodstock and then they did this, or vice versa. But the fact that that they did both is just, it's even crazier.
Well, they had Mitch Hedberg on saxophone, so
I thought the same thing. I totally thought that he looked like Mitch.
That's a bad segue into this, but I couldn't also believe they would show like Gladys Knight and Stevie Wonder, and then they show them in the interviews, and I was just, oh my god, like how many of these people are still alive too?
Yeah.
It's not that long ago, and everybody's completely forgotten about it.
Yeah. It's like one of those things that you go to, like this is a bad comparison, but they had an All That concert that was touring the country, and it was like musical guests from All That. And
so Coolio, TLC,
track too.
Yeah. And they went to all these different cities, and I went to that, and like it's one of those things that like if you were there, you remember. If you were not, you don't.
So in 40 years, we're gonna see you on a documentary and going like, I thought I was crazy. I didn't know that this happened.
Wow, there it is.
Although I think TLC were I know they did the theme song, but I think they're probably too big for a tour like that.
Yeah, no, they were not there.
Probably like what, Immature or something?
Yeah, it was like Immature. I want to say Brandy was there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I saw Brandy at a state fair in Arizona in whatever year that her album came out. So.
Yeah. Brandy, wow. Anyway.
Did she win a carnival game at the fair and say, this toy is mine?
Got it. No, Monica wasn't there, so
okay.
No beef.
No,
the toy is mine.
The sailors did say she was a fine girl, so.
But I think actually one of my favorite parts was with the Fifth Dimension. I thought that was really cool to first of all hear that story of how they ended up covering songs from Hair, but then watch them watch themselves back, because they talked about how important that performance was to them to be in Harlem. So I thought that was probably one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that part a lot too, but going back to the Fifth Dimension and the first guy we talked about who just thought he was crazy and imagined all of it. I loved that they had everybody watch the footage and like they filmed their reactions while they were talking about it. So they'd just be sitting there like this, wow, whoa. Because I don't know where he found it. Do we know how Questlove found that footage?
I don't know,
because nobody had seen it in 50 years.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where he found it, but I know it was in a basement. So
yeah, somebody says that in the movie.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, now I was sitting on it trying to sell it, but nobody wanted to buy it because of Woodstock.
Right. Yep. So,
among other reasons, but.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they ever say exactly where he found it, but.
Somebody broke something. In the movie, they also talk about how the moon landing took place during the festival, and that actually piqued my attention. Well, aside from one other moment, but we'll talk about that in a second. But that piqued my attention probably more than the rest of the movie combined, just because it seemed so. it seemed so, well, that too, but it seemed so relevant to today also. You're spending all this money on what? Jeff Bezos is going to the moon himself now, or going into space by himself?
First.
Okay, well, either way, they're spending billions of dollars on their own, and there's still all these like poverty-stricken communities and all these problems. There's literally a motel near my apartment, and there's an RV that I could see out my off my patio that's been there for months, and there's just people living in there. But nope, let's go to the moon.
Yeah, it's so funny, and it's very funny to watch the reactions, or like how you had like all the white people were like, it's so amazing, and then they went to all the black people and they were like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that they need to work on down here instead of up there.
So. I think one of them said, that's good for science and all, but I'm starving. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
But yeah, there is Spaceship Earth footage for the Disney nerds to spot in that. Realistically, it's historical footage that is used in Spaceship Earth. So.
Yeah.
Walter Cronkite. I wonder if that was the same newscast too, because it was literally like, oh, we made it to the moon, and he takes off the glass and everything like that. Then he comes back, in Harlem, there's a music festival going on right now.
How smart is the guy in the tree, by the way?
What?
The
guy in the tree.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes. When David Ruffin is singing My Girl, and he says, I've got so much, or I've got whatever that line is.
Birds in the trees.
He says, how you doing up there, brother? The guy in the tree, and he's like singing along.
I missed the how you doing up there. I just saw that. I remember the camera panned and it showed it, but I don't know. I was probably too busy thinking of the song in that head. Chris and I have performed that song a cappella before. We're not going to do that here. That was a special occasion. It was our friend's wedding, but
that was very interesting though to see David Ruffin pop up, because I'm a huge Temptations fan, and that was literally like, I mean, they had said that that's when he had split from the Temptations, but like David Ruffin, when he split from the Temptations, he was just singing all of their songs. Like he was going to these kind of events and just singing Temptation songs that he sang lead on, and basically just doing it himself. And like nowadays, if somebody was to do that, they would get sued like crazy.
Well, I was wondering where Mr. Berry Gordy came into play for that stuff, but
right. Yeah, no, I'm just like, I was like, wow, it's crazy that he was able to get away with that.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought we were gonna hear more about Berry Gordy throughout that documentary at some point, but no, because they kind of like they touched like here's Motown, here's soul, here's everything like that. So I thought it was like, oh, we're gonna go into the Motown act of the movie now or whatever, and we're gonna talk about that, and that never happened. But
no, I'm kind of glad though, because like when you think of Black Soul, like that's the first thing anybody thinks about. They're like, oh yeah, Motown, and it's like, yeah, there's so much more to it than just Motown. Like, so.
Okay, guys, as a reminder, we are live talking about Summer of Soul from Searchlight Pictures, now streaming on Hulu. If you have any questions, any comments, like to join in the conversation, please let us know in the comments below. Now, I've been down some rabbit holes in my life before, and one of them I found recently, besides from Michael Jackson maybe not being dead, is Stevie Wonder. And he might, who knows? Can he see? Can he not? It's a rabbit hole theory. For all intents and purposes, he is blind. But I know he does a killer drum solo that I've never seen anything like. And I want to know how.
Practice.
That's what my the girl over here in the chair, my girlfriend over here, just kept saying. Yeah, it was practice. If he learns where the drums are, he'll just practice, Tony.
But that's my thing is like, know, I had mentioned, I made a Facebook status and I was like, when you see Stevie Wonder play a drum solo, a perfect drum solo, you start to have questions. And I'm like,
because he got up and was moving.
Right, exactly. And I was like, when you're playing the piano, you have your fingers. So like you can feel the keys and stuff. When you're playing the drums, you just have the sticks. And you need to know exactly where the drum is and the symbols are and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he was just
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay. I mean, bravo to him, but also, can you see?
Yes, yeah, one of these. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because she goes, well, you could type and like talk to me and look at me in the kitchen, which is true. But I'm like, but I also, my pinky knows where the end of the keyboard is, and my other pinky knows where the other end of the keyboard is. Right. I know this thing, and there it is. I can go like this, type. Yeah. But I can't with everything.
Exactly. So, I mean, sure, maybe it was practice, but like.
And then she corrected me on this too. I don't know if I don't play the drums. Do you, Kyle?
No.
Okay, Chris?
No.
Just because I knew the answer, but I just want for anybody watching. I always thought you could move the different parts around to different spots. So like you could have like the symbols over here, like it. Yeah. You know, there's obviously like
a standard setup.
There's a standard setup, but you could.
Because some people have multiple kits too. Like different. Some people have more toms. People have double bass.
The quote that she said was, "Okay, it's not like he's Phil Collins with that massive set." So,
or like what one of those '80s groups where you have like the things over here and everything.
Oh, yep, yeah, just. Or you know, I'm thinking of Ryan Gosling in La La Land, but those are all keyboards. He had like 5 of them. So
yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it overall. It kind of felt like, in a weird way, This Is It, the Michael Jackson concert movie.
Yes.
I haven't seen it since it opened, but
where it was just kind of like, here's all these like classic songs and then stories of stuff that was happening in between all that at the time and everything like that. But obviously this one's more
balanced than that though. Like I felt like they had a good flow to it. It never felt like here's a song, here's a break. It was like all very interspliced.
Whoever did the editing for the soundtrack, where everything like flowed into each other.
Yeah.
Because there were times when I'm like, okay, this song is like winding down, or maybe it's not, but it like would build up and then it's a new song. And it almost felt like it could have all been one giant performance where these people were just swapping in and out. Yeah. That's why I was really not clear. Was it a weekend or was it a whole summer? Obviously the title Summer of Soul, but
yeah, it almost seemed like all of these artists only performed like 1 or 2 songs, which could be the case, but I assume that they performed full sets or full sets.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say, it was really funny to see Tony Lawrence, the MC of the show, and his different costumes.
Yep. I'm glad you said that. I forgot about that
one.
Yeah, yeah, right. It was like the pink fluffy arms and like
the Manamana outfit.
Yeah, it's just like I'm looking. They're talking about this guy, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he was, he was just very eccentric and knew how to move around and everything." And they showed all his different outfits, and I'm like, "Whoa, this guy's a character." So. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say again but I was also going to the costume part. I loved how much they got of the crowd in the audiences, because you see all the different like styles and trends, and it's just a beautiful timestamp, obviously, of that whole time, because it's not just here's these performers and here they were, but it's literally the society enjoying them. And that's I thought that was really cool, because whoever was filming it, obviously it wasn't just one person, but because you could see like the towers and everything like that, and they're panning the crowds and showing everybody get into it. And I loved how much the crowd was getting into it.
Yeah.
Because like you see like concert footage and stuff like that, and it's woo, but like they were absolutely feeling it. And then I remember that at one point you could see they had like almost like the police barricades. And they were there, and then Tony Lawrence comes out. No, everybody, come on in. We got this person coming up, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, today that would be like, no.
Yeah,
security would chew you out after the show.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Right.
Didn't that happen at Universal during Mardi Gras with somebody?
I'm sure. I mean,
yeah.
You know,
in our time there together, something happened. I think.
Yeah.
It's ringing a bell.
I don't know who it was.
Immediately, I think of Huey Lewis, but that can't be right.
And again, you're talking about the audience vibing to the music, and again, so many different styles of music, and they were on board for all of it through like the gospel and then the percussion heavy like Latin music. Oh. And the Fifth Dimension, which is also kind of its own interesting sort of style.
Yeah. You talk about the Latin music, and I immediately thought, because they started talking about, you know, the Puerto Ricans in New York and everything like that, and up pops Lin-Manuel, and I'm like, is there nothing? Is there nothing where he won't show up in? Right now.
Yeah.
So, Chris, what was it that you said to me?
What did I say?
It was, he's hot.
Oh,
everybody has to have him.
Yeah. Everyone needs a piece of Lin for anything that they're doing. Even Mary Poppins, for some reason.
Yep.
You know,
it's Linsanity Part 2.
Yeah,
what was Part 1?
Actual Linsanity.
Okay.
No, it was that was going back to the like clothing and everything like that. It was also very, you could see the different types of people that were there. So like for like the gospel section, there were a lot more, I feel like, older people in the crowd. And then you had like Sly and the Family Stone, and there was like a very large crowd of younger people who were with that kind of music and that liked that kind of music. And then for like the Latin stuff, you had people who were dressed in more like cultural clothing and stuff like that. And it was just very interesting because you could tell like who was there to see who, and like you're like, all right, you're here to see, you know, these people, and you're here to see these people. And it was very cool.
I like that they talked about that too. They're like, well, you had some folks who were there and you could tell they were just here for this act, and then there were some who would be there for days.
Yeah.
And then I'm glad that they took some time to put in a little segment devoted to like the styles and everything like that. And they talked about like the shikis and everything like that were starting to come into play in afros, expressing the identity and everything like that. And I thought that was just really cool that it wasn't just like a background, like, oh, look at all the people. It was like, well, this is what was going on. This is what was happening at this time.
Yeah.
It wasn't just going back to like, this is it comparison. It wasn't just, here's the music. It's everything happening around them at the same time too.
Well, and I also thought it was very interesting too, the fact that they did, they talked about the word black. And I had no idea that was, I thought that was, you know, growing up, I was like, oh, that's just something that, you know, that's who we are or whatever. But I didn't know that like before that era, it was like rude to, you know, call somebody black.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were like, no, it's fine. That's who we are. And then, you know, that kind of went away for a little bit, but that's actually kind of coming back nowadays, is like people are moving away from the term African American and more towards being black, because me personally, I'm just a black man because I'm not from Africa, and I have friends who are from Africa who live here in America, and to me, those people are African Americans, not me myself. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, very interesting stuff. The little stuff we learned in between.
I love that she said her editor, no offense, Kyle, who is the executive editorial director of laughingplace.com, wiped out the word and replaced it. And then she wrote him the 11-page memo. And then he's like, fine, whatever. And then put it in there.
Yeah.
And then throughout New York Times after that point forward, it was to use the word black.
Yep. That was, it was very cool to see.
Yeah. And then I didn't know until she said it, obviously, because I'm horrible with history stuff, unless it's movies or Disney nerd stuff. That same person, whose name completely flew out of my head, was the first black student at the journalism school she went to. and they talk about that.
Yeah, listening to Nina Simone, right?
Hunter.
She was the one listening to Nina Simone, yeah.
Yes.
As all the other girls in the dorm were pounding on the roof to intimidate her, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was Charlene Hunter.
Yep. Sounds right.
Yeah, that was very interesting stuff. Then, like you said, like the stuff, the little history stuff that they sprinkled in between what was going on and everything like that was very cool to see. And to just the fact that when they talked about like, oh, here's what happened in the 60s, and they were like, this person was shot, this person was shot, this person, and it's like, geez, the 60s were rough for like a lot of reasons.
Well, I go back to the moon landing thing because we talk about the whole thing took place in the summer of '69, which I don't remember being mentioned at all in Bryan Adams' song. But
I saw it coming as soon as you said it.
I know. I saw Kyle, as I was talking, I saw Kyle just go like this because he knew. Anyway, but it was that summer. But as soon as they showed the moon, I thought they were going to start talking about, because they talked about psychedelic like funk music too, I guess, a little bit. Like they briefly mentioned it. Nobody really performed it, but they kind of like talked about psychedelic. And then they showed the moon. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is gonna get into that. I'm like, then they said that they landed on the moon at the same time. Oh yeah, they would have, I guess, because it was summer of '69. So.
Yeah, it's funny.
For $5.
Yeah,
because not the words. But yeah.
No, because the guy in the beginning of the movie talked about how he got a guitar for $5 and he made $3 a week or something like that.
Yep. It's funny that you mentioned Bryan Adams' Summer of '69, because now, like, I heard that song the other day after I had seen this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I hear that song, I'm gonna automatically think of this movie. Like,
change the lyrics, Chris.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Got my first real 6-string while listening to Gina, or not Gina. I don't know why I said Gina.
I had my first big concert listening to Nina Simone.
There you go, Gina. And that's why I was thinking Gina. I was Nina Simone.
It's funny, you guys. I know you guys talked about the United States versus Billie Holiday, and my first thought, which was of course recommended to me on Hulu after I finished this movie, but I was thinking, oh, the FBI must have a file on Nina Simone too.
So they were talking about drugs and Nina Simone, and because of Billie Holiday and that movie, I was like, they got her too. Like I was waiting for that like turn, especially because I was watching the runtime, and I'm like, well, I know what the runtime is, and I know where I'm at in this movie. So something's about to happen. But again, that goes back to my whole, nothing like that happened. It was just kind of a celebration that had happened and what was going on in the world. But I was all music festivals I'm aware of have some kind of tragedy attached to them. So I was kind of waiting for that idea.
And they have Black Panthers doing security instead of Hell's Angels.
And they kept mentioning that throughout. So I'm like, foreshadowing? Like, what's going on? Come on. Questlove, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, I guess, right after this, this had won like the Sundance Awards and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Questlove was tapped on the shoulder to do a Sly and the Family Stone documentary.
Ooh.
So in the future, we'll have that to look forward to. I mean, if you're interested.
They're from San Francisco.
Yeah.
They've already got the one up.
Yeah.
History about where I'm from? Okay.
Can we talk about Questlove for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder how many people really appreciate who Questlove is. Like, if you just see him on Fallon, you might not realize that he's just got this encyclopedic knowledge of all things music history and music theory and all of that. So it's cool to see him get a little bit more of a platform with this.
No, I agree. I know he's always kind of, like you said, had that encyclopedia, but it was when he started doing the Oscars. I know it was big this year, but I feel like he's at least contributed to them before. and because I know he did the DJing for this year, and like everything he picked or played between transitions was some kind of like pun or joke or like something referencing a past ceremony, a movie the person was in. I just love that he does stuff like that. Chris, go ahead.
Here's a story that I think at least that you'll appreciate, Tony, because you're a very big Pixar nerd.
And Kyle and I have similar sensibilities regardless.
Okay. So there's a story about Questlove and how Prince had asked him to DJ at an after party. And you can find this story on YouTube. If I can't remember, if I figure it out, I'll send you the link. But he asked him to DJ an after party, and so Questlove started DJing. And I guess at some point in the party, he told him to stop DJing the music, and Prince put on Finding Nemo.
I think I remember that story.
And Questlove was like, did I do a bad job? Like, he was like, I don't know if I did a bad job or what. Or like Prince was just not feeling it, but he just stopped everything. He put on Finding Nemo and told me to stop. I just think that's hilarious. Like,
it's one of those Prince stories too. So
yeah, like, exactly.
In the pantheon with Kevin Smith's and Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle's. And that's the other thing.
Charlie Murphy, really.
So I also saw in the credits, special thanks to, it was like the 8th one down, Dave Chappelle. And I was like, the whole time I was getting like weird Dave Chappelle vibes off of the movie. And I don't know why. I had no explanation for it. And the only thing I can come up with in my head was the Dave Chappelle sketch where he did do the different cultural music like preferences. And Chris is pulling up a prop, maybe?
I thought maybe Dave Chappelle's Block Party. Maybe that'll be the next.
I'll
make a documentary about the documentary.
Yep.
I was looking for that movie to pull it out. I don't think I have it here with me in Florida, but yeah, Dave Chappelle's Block Party. It's 100% this, but like modern day.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Which leads me into a question I had. I don't see a better opportunity than to ask it. If this were a festival that happened today, who would be there?
Oof. Who would be there, or who would I want there?
So well, okay. Who I would say who would be there? Who would you want there? I immediately like I don't see that's the thing though. I feel like everybody had like a unique like flavor.
I got the first one, the Roots.
Oh, okay, there you go.
You're not wrong there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Roots. I mean, we joked about it earlier, but I think Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
You know,
Gladys Knight.
Yeah, Gladys Knight. You know, I feel like any of those people who are still performing, who were there originally, I would at least definitely give them the offer to perform if they wanted to.
Would it be limited to the same music types, or just the idea of that kind of festival? Because I feel like today you'd also get more pop and probably a little bit more hip hop.
That's the thing is you know, we have these music festivals all the time, Coachella, all those things, and there's always like a big headliner performance. But I feel like you can't have somebody too big. You know, but I mean, I guess those, in the sense of like what this was, I don't think you could have a concert like this where it was in Harlem, especially with the popularity of some of the artists. Like if you had like a big headliner artist, there would be too many people trying to come to see this thing. And like, it would just be a madhouse, you know? Whereas in terms of back then, they were popular, but I don't think it was. It wasn't as publicized, you know.
I was gonna say there was no internet
exactly
that would like blow that up to get that crowd. It was just like flyers posted on walls.
Right.
Here's what's going on. Come on down.
If it was
radio commercials,
do that today, it would have to be in a very large open space. But I feel
like a Coachella.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like if you're gonna have those,
or an island in the Bahamas with cheese sandwiches.
Jeez. I feel like if you're going to have those older performers like Stevie Wonder and Gladys Knight, you have to have maybe like they do like one weekend where it's like an older crowd of like older performers and everything like that. And then you have maybe a younger crowd on the
I would go to that one. I'm just saying. And I think you would too, Chris. And I feel like Kyle might also.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to the Gladys Knight weekend. Let's go.
Yeah. You know, like we have Gladys Knight. You have some jazz performers, some old school jazz performers who are still around. And then, you know, the next weekend you have your big headliner artist for that one. And maybe it's, I don't want to say it, but, you know, the Roots are obviously up there, but I feel like you'd need somebody even bigger than that. No offense to the Roots at all, but I feel like you would just need one more person just a little bit bigger than that. So like, dare I say,
that's what I was thinking. Yep.
Beyonce and Jay-Z or something like that.
So would Beyonce be Nina Simone?
I feel like, I don't want to say she's Nina Simone, but I feel like she's on that level. Definitely culturally.
Well, because of how they talked about it culturally at the time for Nina Simone.
Yeah. You know, Jay-Z and Beyonce are definitely culturally aware of what's happening in the world. And they're definitely very, I would say, at least pretty involved in situational stuff that happens. So I feel like they would be appropriate to have there. But that would also draw your crowd in and be like, hey, Saturday, guess who's going to be there?
I think it'd be kind of cool if they did something where it was like maybe not just the artists performing their own stuff, but maybe paying tribute to their influences and stuff and really putting an emphasis on that. I think, and then that way you could actually just put in the older performers with the newer performers and even have them perform together and kind of like passing the baton sort of a thing.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That would definitely be cool to see something like that.
Some of the names that came to my mind in terms of like when I think of, you know, like you're saying, like that are very aware of the culture and have a big impact on the culture would be like probably Kendrick and Killer Mike. Like those are pretty big names.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think something like that would be definitely really cool. But you know, my dad was talking about, he's like, oh, they could never do something like this nowadays because it would lead to violence or something like that. And I'm I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, also they do these festivals all the time, you know, like, not in the sense of this one, but yeah.
I know they talk about, and Chris and Kyle both feel free to jump in on this. I was discussing it with my girlfriend who was sitting next to me while I'm watching it too. And we said, if it happens today, do you think it would be as racially charged or more politically charged? Oh, and those do kind of go hand in hand, but I agreed with her that it would be definitely, it would skew more political than
it would be more
racial.
More political. And it would be very heavy Black Lives Matter, you know, like, yeah, it would be 100% political.
Yeah. But that's where I agree with your dad, because at a certain point there's going to be,
I know. And it's as sad
that
as
one person.
Right. As sad as that is, you know, I agree with him that a situation, you know, a concert like that, and, you know, and that's not to say that it would happen, because there are concerts that happen in Harlem and all over New York. Maybe definitely not to the scale of this, but if you had a concert to this scale, to where that many people were in one place nowadays, I feel like something would happen.
There would have to
not
be
ticketed. If it's a free thing where anyone can come in.
Was this one was free, right?
Yeah.
The one in the movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the other thing too, is I feel like it would be heavily ticketed and definitely dynamic pricing for who was going to be there.
Yep.
So it wouldn't just be an all I'm sure there would be an all access pass. Now I'm putting in my head the hypothetical pricing structure of what this festival would be.
Tony's trying to make this happen. He's like,
and that's a challenge, because, you know, you want to do something, if you want to pay homage to this and make it free and make it about the community, while still, you know, making it safe and making it make sense, it definitely be hard to price it the way you want. Maybe you do something where like people who, zip codes, if you live within a radius, you get it for free. And then if you were coming from outside, then maybe they charge those people,
Yep.
Like a California theme park circa April. So
jeez.
Still bitter.
You're still bitter.
Anyway, no, now I'm thinking about it. Like, if this movie does exceedingly well, do we think we'll see some kind of event, period?
It would be nice. I would go to it.
Like, on the same idea, I should say. Yeah.
I mean, I think if it wasn't for COVID, it's possible we would have seen some sort of mini festival and promotion of this. Probably not on the same scale that we're talking about. But
no.
Yeah. Sorry, there's something in my eye.
I keep thinking of Gladys Knight now, and it makes me think of the 30 Rock episode that she's in, the Midnight Train to Georgia one. She shows up, hey, I'm just trying to get some sleep.
Yeah.
All right. All in all, Kyle, do you have anything to add?
No, I'd recommend it. I was surprised that there were no commercials throughout it because I don't have the no commercials Hulu.
Me neither. And it had a big Target logo stamped on it. It's only going to be great. Every act break, there's going to be like 3 minutes of Target stuff.
Yeah.
You saw it in the theaters, right, Chris?
I did. I saw it with Jeremiah in the theaters, and it was funny because after the performance, the tribute to Martin Luther King, everyone in the theater erupted in applause for the performance, which was very cool to see. I mean, we were sitting there watching this, and it felt like we were there at the.
So I feel like that would be a good selling point for the theater to see it in a theater, because I watched it at home, and it was cool. It was good. I liked it, but I thought I was watching a documentary at home.
Right.
So
no, yeah. I mean, home theater setup aside and everything like that, being in the theater right there and the theater sound system, it was like, I was like, wow. Like, I left feeling like I left the show. Like,
nice.
Oh, it's over now. So, yeah.
But you didn't wait till after the credits. In fairness, I probably wouldn't have either had Kyle not told me about something happening.
Well, now I'm gonna just turn it back on because I just finished watching it before we jumped on again. So,
so you were in real time with me as I was texting you.
I was a little behind you, but
okay.
Yeah.
That is a good point, though. I feel like it's something that I'll probably revisit.
Yeah.
This sounds horrible. It was so interesting, but also just like light, like when it was just the musical stuff. It would just be good, like just to keep putting it on, like almost like if I had a vinyl of some kind and just put it on and go about my day.
Yes, Questlove, give us a vinyl.
Yes,
and a DVD with bonus footage that's just nonstop concert footage.
I'm waiting for that one. To be honest, yeah, the Blu-ray set that's basically doom, because I'm sure Questlove has a good lawyer that told him buy all of them.
Yeah,
buy all of those tapes.
Like Questlove is so like he's so big in the music industry. Like he knows everybody in the music industry. So my dad was talking about like how like he's like, oh, if they did a soundtrack, it would probably be hard to get the rights and everything like that. But I'm like, Quest knows everybody. Like I'm sure he could talk to anybody, and they would be like, yeah, we'll give you the rights to throw this on a soundtrack. And
I don't know about give, but yes,
but not give the rights, but at least you could throw this on a soundtrack and also a full concert, like to see the full footage uncut with the documentary stuff, to just see the full show. I would love that. Time Life presents Questlove's Summer of Soul footage. Hey, I'm there. Yep. It would be just like the guy said in the movie. It would be, there were some people who picked select acts and then some who were there the whole thing. Yep. So I think I'd honestly be the select acts guy. But yeah. I don't know. I just think of all the like Woodstock stuff, and I'm like, there's Woodstock box sets, there's DVDs, there's all that footage and everything like that, and I'm like, okay, well, here's the same thing. So,
Yep.
So, anyway, that's it.
To the tens of people watching, one of them has to be a Time Life executive. Come on, guys.
Make it happen.
All right. So, Kyle, you enjoyed it. How many out of 10? I don't know. I need to start thinking of these ahead of time. My improv skills are terrible right now.
How many?
Yeah. How many vinyl records out of 10 would you give this movie?
9, and no reason why I'm missing the last one. Just don't want to be that guy.
Okay. Chris?
My turn. I would give it 9.5.
Okay.
I say 9.5 because I would want more to see more. That's
okay.
I just wanted to see more. I felt like it was good and there was enough, but there wasn't just.
It was the introductory clip show to you. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I got the sense of this. Now show me the whole thing.
I would give it I'll go to the halves. Also, I'll say an 8.5 out of 10, simply because of that drum solo. I'm still
skeptical on that.
Still a little. Come on.
You're gonna need to do a deep dive on it.
About Stevie Wonder, like if you heard any of the stories,
I've gone down that rabbit hole before.
Yeah,
but yeah.
It's very funny. Like he's shown up to people's houses and got out of the driver's seat of the cars.
Yep.
And people are like, wait, what?
It was funny because they showed also in this movie, they show Chris Rock and he starts talking about Stevie Wonder at one point. I'm like, say it, because I've seen him on talk shows before. He's not blind. Yeah. Don't you know him? Like, he's not blind.
Yeah, it's very funny.
So as soon as he showed up, I'm like, are they going to talk more about Stevie Wonder and these drums? Because that's how it opens. Spoiler: you open with this incredibly fantastic drum solo by Stevie Wonder.
Yep.
This is the LP Movie Club where we talk about that one scene. Sorry.
Anyway.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us as we looked at Summer of Soul from Searchlight Pictures, at now available on Hulu and theatrically where available. I know we had a bit of a slow day today because of the holiday, but tomorrow everything's back full force with Disney Parks Talk Live. Barely necessity. Sorry, I'm ahead of myself. Disney Parks Talk Live at 1:00 Pacific, 4:00 Eastern, if I can do my math. Barely Necessities at 4:00 Pacific, 7 Eastern. The live Disney merchandise show featuring Becca and Becca. And then later that night at 10:30 Eastern, Disney Trivia Live, hosted by Doobie and Gideon, with topics, as usual, to be determined. Remember to like, subscribe, ring that bell. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Catch Summer of Soul, now available on Hulu and theatrically where available. Bye, everybody.